Welcome to Your Wealthy Self with me, Regina Martinelli. This show is about money and a whole lot more. Here we focus on you being able to expand your capacity for money, success, and abundance, and inner wealth, and for you to have what's most important to you so that you can be your wealthiest self. Today's one of those days where we're going to talk about a whole lot more. Most of us women have been living our lives on top of a wobbly self-appreciation, maybe childhood trauma, and limited beliefs about ourselves and what we're allowing ourselves to have, what we deserve, that have shaped how we feel, how much we deserve, and how much freedom we will allow ourselves to have. Now it's time for an evolution. This evolution will require talking about repression and de-repression. But don't worry, this will not be a sciencey lecture, but it's really important. So let's dive in. So de-repression, what does it mean? It's the release from a blocked state. Repression is a physical defense. It's a strategy in which unpleasant thoughts or memories are pushed from the consciousness, from our conscious mind. And these unpleasant thoughts might include the lack of clarity, uncertainty of purpose, even diminished self-appreciation, like not feeling safe to be who you are in the world, not having a satisfying sense of love in your life or connection with others. These can show up as feelings of anxiety, being in overdrive to produce, that constant needing to be perfect, or overwhelm or confusion, even anxiety, tension, and like a lack of confidence and procrastination, which is on the other side. And there's shame, even fear of not feeling worthy or deserving. All of these create blocks to you having more ease, creativity, clarity, and joy in your life, which this is not new, but this is also common for someone who does not recall abuse in their early childhood, but still has problems with connection and feeling safe, and anxiety resulting from unaddressed trauma. And trauma comes in so many forms and intensities. For example, I had a client who was riddled with anxiety as an adult. Her anxiety was started in childhood, but she wasn't able to connect the dots until her late 40s when her immune system started to attack itself as a form of an immune disorder. And as a child, she was an overachiever, an A student, athlete. She had her first job at 15 years old. All of this effort to be amazing was really to compensate for the lack of safety and love she felt at home. Her parents held their love as like an unattainable carrot, like if you jump high enough, but mostly motivating their kids by using a large stick. Her entire focus of her childhood was to be not too displeasing to her parents, to curtail their swings of emotion or outbursts. And she had high hopes of one day being pleasing enough to feel loved. It's not just physical safety a child needs, but emotional safety and the stability of a parent's emotional state as well. So she continued this trajectory of amazing efforts throughout her adulthood. She was promoted to run an international division at her company, a dream position it seemed, and finally she felt seen. Yet there were lingering whispers of validation creeping into her realm. So her system had actually a moment of relief. It was not long before the anxiety of, came back. Hello, anxiety, my old friend, resurfaced. The anxiety that fuels that drive of I must keep pushing, I'll find out I'm not really good enough. If I achieve this next piece, then I'll finally feel valid, worthy, deserving, or safe, whatever it is. And each time she crossed that finish line, it wasn't enough to heal the hole left in her childhood. Yet, not to worry, another finish line would appear. This one will be it. It will calm it all. That torment that inside of me, it will calm it, is what she thought. What we uncovered was her need to be valued, loved, and safe by her parents got projected onto her new boss. She kept expecting her new boss to react the same explosive way her parents did when she made a mistake. Her new boss did not. This sent her into a whirlwind of anxiety. She could not find where her boss's breaking point was. When the stick did not show up, she didn't know how to be pleasing enough to feel some sense of safety as she did in her childhood. This is common for children who experience significant instability in their parents' emotional states. They don't know when the fuse will blow, so they are constantly tracking for the explosion, tracking for how safe they are in the moment and how to act to be less displeasing, to not cause a bigger eruption. This is exhausting mentally, also physically and emotionally for anyone, and especially a child who doesn't have the capacities to make sense of it yet. And this happened happens to a lot of us growing up. So the de-repression in her life at this stage in her mid to later 40s was bringing wounded childhood belief patterns to the surface. For my client at the time, when she was at the top of her game, wise in her experience, and seasoned within herself, her system was stable enough now for her to start to address these fundamental cracks, these deeply held beliefs that were buried that when resolved could really change the trajectory of her life and the health to one of ease and joy. So just to be clear, de-repression is a release from a blocked state. In society today, we are conditioned to resist, ignore, and suppress these symptoms, to put them off by working harder, pretending they'll go away by adding XYZ powder to our coffee, or squashing the tension with willpower, or even popping a pill. Have you ever considered these systems are how your body tells you what needs to be addressed and how it communicates what needs to be healed for your highest good? Your system is showing you where the blocks are that prevent you from having what's important to you. Once you've resolved that block state, de-repression, because that's what it is. It's like it's been repressed emotions and it's being de-repressed. So it's being released. Then more of yourself and more of what you want, it's more easily available to you and to those you want to share it with. And this is a gift worth having. It's a gift. De-repression is a gift to yourself to revise, heal, and resolve the blocks within your physical, mental, and emotional states. When these old, outdated strategies can complete, they free up emotional and spiritual real estate. And this newly created vacuum, your creational authority, becomes your superpower in creating what's most important to you with ease, certainty, and joy. What's more, there's no more struggle, no more anxiety or confusion. You get to know yourself through this process, giving yourself deeper clarity, extended freedom, and more creativity. It's all in line with the purpose and choice of what you want to create in your life. So it's time to receive the gift. Have you ever had a cat bring you a present like a mouse or lizard on your doorstep? From the cat's perspective, it's a gift. It's the best kind, one that nourishes and supports you. Maybe it's not the type of gift you'd register for, but it's something you have now to deal with, to keep your home free of a decomposing cat treat. This is the same when your body starts its de-repression process. Your body is telling you it's time to address your physical stress, limited self-appreciation, the emotional anxiety, the lack of clarity, the procrastination, the mental overwhelm, which are all signs of repressing happening. It should be de-repressing. The body knows that it's what it's doing. It's not a mistake. Your body is wise. These symptoms are the missing link to resolving the conflict within your system. In your body's infinite wisdom, it knows your system is stable enough to handle what needs to be healed with your attention and appreciation. Sure, it's not the gift you'd ever buy for yourself, yet it will greatly benefit and support you when it's held and properly processed with appreciation. Your body is ready to do this with and for you. This is why these symptoms are resurfacing in significant ways when you are over 40 and decades into your adult and self-awareness. It's time to allow these old belief patterns to complete and install new ones that support you now. So when these symptoms are viewed through this lens of adaptation, this is how my ancient wise body has decided to help protect and keep me living. That's what put these patterns in place to begin with. Then you don't have to resist them. You don't have to fear de-repression. This shift in perspective is the key to unlocking and overcoming all of those symptoms of anxiety and overwhelm, and the compulsive drive to keep going forward no matter what, even when you're not ready or it doesn't feel right. Your body doesn't lie. It has a strategy for what it's doing. Become the sleuth to find out what the source belief of that strategy is, and then revise it to one that is actually more useful, one that supports what's most important to you and what you want to have in your life now. All of this can be done within yourself, knowing you have more creational authority than you might believe and have ever experienced, because your symptoms are clues that directly affect how you unwrap the gift you've been given. Similarly with all gifts, you can receive it or you can donate to society, to the trash bin even. Most of us donate it to the trash bin. Then we cover it up with all sorts of other strategies of denial and shame and distractions that really aren't working. And maybe it's time to reframe how we experience our systems. So there's two unuseful paths with de-repression. One that's most commonly what I see in my work is when de-repression starts to happen, it unearths our darkest belief patterns and fears that we tend to do these things. First, we turn against ourselves and we believe there is something wrong with me or this would not be happening. This creates so much internal strife and hope at the same time. It's always easiest to blame ourselves because if we are the problem, then we have a shot at fixing it. Then we have the hope of having the life that we want. This is also a very common strategy in childhood. When much of these limiting beliefs become functional, this is why young children blame themselves when a parent leaves, when there's a divorce, or someone dies, or a parent is upset. Their first move is to assume that they are the problem. The child has the fantasy that if they were more of this or less of that, then the parent would have stayed, been more loving or accepting. They desperately believe, if I can be different, then I can help heal my parent or take their pain away. Then I will have the loving, safe, secure parent that I crave for. But this strategy is based in their belief that if they, the child, can be the source of their problem, then they too can be the solution. Otherwise, they're kind of screwed. Kids take all the blame and all the credit, but it's not their fault. This is how their brain develops. And it's not a flaw of our brains. We tend to beat ourselves up for how we, as humans, develop, and repression is a part of that development. And later, de-repression is part of our evolutionary gift decades later to heal what was too big for us to fully understand at these young, precious ages. Another way we turn against ourselves is when we keep trying to make a better version of ourselves, being my best self at 45. Were the versions of you prior to this less valid, less precious, or beautiful? Will the next best versions of you devalue the best self at 45? No, they're all equally valid, precious, and beautiful. Just different yous. For example, do we expect a baby to be the best version of itself at 6 months? How about when it starts walking around at 1 year? Is that version more valuable than a 6-year-old who can only roll over? What about a 5-year-old who can talk and use the toilet and dress themselves? Are they more valuable, more precious, and beautiful than that 2-month-old who's just drooling in diapers? No. Lastly, every child comes in this world subconsciously wanting to heal their family. Yet no child ever has. It only results in the proliferation of the family's generational trauma. Second, so that's the first unuseful path with de-repression when you start to experience it. The second unuseful path is when we are exhausted from turning against ourselves for being the problem and our efforts to fix ourselves isn't working, then we'll resist the uprising of these old belief patterns, the de-repression by denying them or overpowering them mentally or physically. And in denying the de-repression of these buried strategies, we are further repressing them. This forces them to find other ways to come out and express themselves. They're going to resurface. This is when my client experienced her anxiety turned into autoimmune symptoms. However de-repression shows up, we are conditioned to resist it, view it as something is wrong with us. So we try to squash the symptoms with our drive and our feeling shame or having to hide it away or deny its existence, only to pretend that we're fine and refuse to receive this gift at our feet. When you're a child, experiences that it's not safe to be seen. If you ever had that experience as a child, or it's not safe to show or receive love or be self-expressed, be the beautiful expression that you are, when they have that experience and they do not have any other outside references for being safe, loved, or seen in their situations, then this limited experience creates neurological pathways that form their beliefs about themselves. And these beliefs change how much self-expression they will allow themselves to have, how free they will feel in their bodies or in their expressing of who they are and in their happiness. And the child is trying to figure out how much to limit themselves in order to feel safe, loved, or seen because they realize their full expression did not go so well. So this is a strategy. It's a survival strategy. And it's a survival strategy that the brain adopts to keep the child as safe as possible. The belief strategy that the child is not lovable, safe, or seen when they are fully who they are becomes the filter of how that child experiences themselves in the world, which is a small footprint on this planet. It's very small. To them, it's their entire universe. Children don't have any way of knowing there are other options or other experiences for how life can be, for how loved and valued and seen they can feel. This is their only reference to how the world is. and how they will always be viewed, valued, or treated. So it becomes what they believe is the truth about themselves. And unfortunately, our brains don't upgrade as we age. They don't, kick out old systems and reach for new ones. But when we get older and we can understand these childhood traumas that don't define who we are, how much love we deserve, or how much value is in the world, we don't have a way to update that younger self. For example, if you grew up in a town where there was only one restaurant with 3 items in the menu, there was moldy stale bread, or moldy stale bread that's cold, or moldy stale bread that's cold with a side of rancid mayonnaise. What would your view be of eating out if this was the only restaurant you knew and your only experience of eating out? See, these experiences get laid down early in life and they get repeated again and again and again until they are wired into our foundational experiences of how we see ourselves, how we view the world. This causes us to start to see ourselves as only deserving to eat moldy stale bread that is cold. And we start to see the world as only bringing us moldy stale bread that is cold with a side of rancid mayonnaise. And to add to it, part of our brains have a compulsion to predict how the world is, to ensure our survival. This part of the brain uses the reticular activating system, the RAS, to start filtering your experience, to find evidence that what you've been experiencing up until now, how the world is, and your place in it, is a match. Meaning your brain finds evidence to support the internal beliefs about how loved, valued, and seen and safe you are. Basically, it starts looking for places that only serve cold, moldy, stale bread, or cold, moldy, stale bread with a side of rancid mayonnaise. It only starts to sort for those things. And any delicious, nourishing quinoa bowl or acai bowl or even roasted chicken gets filtered out. Your brain's only looking for the cold, stale, moldy bread because it's not a belief unless it's true. So your brain is finding evidence to match what your 6-year-old self decided you deserved based on a childhood that may not have been as safe or loving or nurturing as you needed. It'd be great if our brains updated like our phones. So the next time you were out in the world, your brain would say, hey, here's a chicken salad or a Taco Tuesday to add to your menu. That is more nourishing than the moldy, stale bread you've been surviving on. Yet your brain doesn't do that. When we have these foundational early childhood limiting beliefs running, our brain keeps the original menu of that moldy bread because our brains are only looking for moldy bread with a side of rancid mayonnaise. This is also the lens it uses to choose our partners, our jobs, our bosses, our friends, our roommates, our opportunities, and to bring those people and situations into our orbit. If you have a filter that being safe isn't safe, then this part of your brain is going to filter for people and situations to support that belief that it's not safe to be safe. Your brain will start looking to enlist certain people that end up being not trustworthy or take advantage of you or not safe for you to be around. The opposite is also true. If part of your brain cannot find the old moldy stale bread in someone, then it will filter that person out of your life. This is where safe, trustworthy people don't show up on your radar, or you won't have any chemistry with that nice person. Granted, no one has just one experience in their childhood. You have a variety of experiences, good, bad, and indifferent. Everyone has times when they felt okay, because most everyone has to sleep, allowing a few hours without threat. But the more difficult or painful the child's experience was, the more these associations get automated for your survival. And this automation really supports your brain in finding the kinds of people who will serve you old, mold, staley bread. And your brain kind of craves this meal. The good news is you can shift all these beliefs at the root source. It's not just at the affirmation level when the strategies get rewired in your neurology. It causes your experience to shift. You no longer have to avoid safe people or situations because your brain will actually start filtering out the unsafe ones and start bringing in the safe people because your brain will be updated. You experience yourself and the world around you changes. People and situations subconsciously become enlisted to create these that you used to enlist subconsciously to create these moldy, stale experiences start to go away. And other more nourishing options become prominent and satisfying in your life. Just as your brain kept filtering out what you were desperately wanting, can now start bringing in the clarity, the safety, the creativity, the love, the freedom, the success with ease that you want. So an invitation for evolution is a gift. It's an invitation to let your unresolved conflicts complete so that the truth of who you are really gets expressed. Because by the time we're 6 years old, everything you believe about your worth, your lovability, how safe you are being you and what you deserve and how easy your life can be is in place. And many times much, much sooner than 6 years of age. This means that the time you're in first grade, you've already decided how safe it is to be seen, how much love you're worthy of, how much struggle you deserve to experience in the next 70 to 80 years of your life. Would you ever let a 6-year-old determine how much love, safety, success, and clarity you deserve in your life? Of course not. I don't know about you, but my 6-year-old self really did not have the capacities or abilities to make sense of what was happening around her. She would never consider that her parents had their own childhood wounds, that they were being played out in her direction, and that her siblings were struggling with their own hurt from their parents, who also had partners or parents who were still heartbroken from generational cruelty. She thought it was personal to her. She thought there must be something wrong with me. Since my dad is frightfully angry, my mom doesn't have time to comfort me, and my siblings tease me relentlessly. This is when children decide on some level that they're not safe. I didn't feel I belonged. It wasn't safe to be me, was my experience. And I can't be happy or show love or succeed without upsetting someone. It's safer to shut down and deny who I am. All of these beliefs turn us against ourselves. We're either too much of something or not enough of something else, or just fundamentally unworthy. Now, this turning against ourselves by thinking there's something wrong with us is a way to protect ourselves from the harm, emotionally, physically, and mentally. This is the part of how we will maintain our survival at a very young, tender age when those around us do not feel safe. This is part of our brain starting to strategize how we can be more pleasing and less displeasing. Maybe be less noticed or more supportive, less needy and more tough. Whatever it is that has us be less of a target. And in the animal kingdom, this adaptation strategy is supposed to be temporary until the threat is gone. Yet for many of us, we forget it's an adaptation. So we keep it, and it becomes how we move through life and how we view ourselves. We don't allow ourselves to shine too brightly or to be too successful. We feel we need permission to be who we are. We feel confused by what to do next or unclear about the right decision. We feel we have to do it all ourselves because we can't rely on anyone else to help us. We drive and drive to avoid the pain of being rejected, shamed, or hurt. These strategies become fundamental blocks to us having the freedom to be ourselves and the joy and ease that we want. And these are just childhood feelings of being unsafe, unloved, unvalued that have been shoved down and pushed out of cognition. Yet they are strategies that our brain uses on a regular basis to keep us alive. And your brain's not going to dismantle them just because you consciously shove them down into the depths beyond recognition. Your brain's not going to revise them instantly because you did your 5 minutes of affirmations daily in the mirror for 4 decades. These strategies go underground. They have to resurface to fulfill their purpose. And they're all revisable. So one of the things I want to share is that these are really an invitation. It's an invitation to heal yourself. Your body's saying, please, let's work on this. Let's look at this. And there are several things that you can do. Next steps, I would suggest, whether you do this today or next week or next year, is to celebrate the invitation that your body's wanting an upgrade of these outdated beliefs. It's wanting to get better strategies. It's wanting to let these go because it's done. They've outused their usefulness. And there's no problem. This is good news. And then partner with your body. Support your system in revising and letting these old patterns complete. Create new beliefs that you choose, ones that support the truth of who you are. And you can do this in so many, many different ways. And if you're interested in doing this in deeper work to revise those subconscious strategies to create that create struggle, then I invite you to check out my website at reginamartinelli.com to go for deeper discussions. And there's a free training there and more, a free training that you can do. And also, I've talked about this in my other episodes, sitting with those feelings that you're trying to repress, because you're not going to spontaneously explode. And it may be scary, but even just sitting with them for a few seconds, and then a few seconds longer the next day or the next week, and then maybe a minute or two, and then ask yourself, what is the message this emotion, this feeling, this experience wants to tell me? And let it talk to you. Write it down. It's one way to really start to work through what is going on there. Because you are a beautiful and precious being, just the way you are. You are enough. Your worth is immeasurable and immense. No amount of money can add to it or take it away. And your ability to know this and to actually embody it is one of those things that is going to serve you for years and years and years to come. So here's to you creating your wealthy self. See you next time.